got a girl named Sally, and she don't squawk or eat pork with a spoon or fork. But I heard that some people don't like.
That was excited to be here.
Man, what are you saying? Ladies and gentlemen, in the building at this time, we have Brooklyn's finest, the living legend himself, Professor Daddy-O from Stetsasonic. Let's give him a round of applause, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Hey, what's going on, Daddy-O? How you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. Just coming off a Stet show on Sunday.
Okay. How was that?
It was dope. It was grueling. That's the word, right?
Right.
Grueling is something you do with your spit. It was grueling.
Right.
But it was a dope show.
Nice. And I think I saw pics of it on Instagram with you and Chris Paul.
Yeah. Charlie Mack took a picture.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of videos, not a lot, man. But there's a few videos around. I'm in the process of collecting all the pictures and videos that people had taken that day.
Okay, nice. We have a lot to talk about. But first of all, I just got a question. Now, maybe it's me, but weren't you on the cover of Midnight Marauders?
I was.
Yeah,
I was actually top.
In the left-hand corner.
Top left. Yeah.
People don't know that. So I like to throw a little facts that people don't know.
Right.
Because a lot of people didn't get that opportunity. Like Fife said, peace to all more peace to make the album cover.
Right.
Everybody ain't make that album cover, so that's history right there.
That's what's up.
Also, they didn't know. Well, a lot of people don't know that you made top billing.
Yeah, it's starting to be a little more known now. But in the beginning, I mean, you could look at if you. I think his part of the. I don't want to call it atrocity, right? But his part of the problem, if I could call it a problem, is that nobody plays wax anymore, right? So top billing, we didn't have a physical, we didn't have a picture album cover or anything, right? So the only credits for top billing is actually on the wax, right? So if you Google the top billing wax, you see produced by Daddy-O, and we put the Stet in big letters and all that,
right.
But then outside of that, we never, and Milk and them got off into their thing, I got off into my thing, and for a long period of time. Besides for the one album, the audio too was very dormant.
Right.
You didn't hear a lot from Milk, you didn't hear a lot from Giz. Right. You continued to hear from Light. So that information kind of went away with that.
Right.
But as we move a little further, things become classic, right? After 10, 20 years, things become classic. Mm-hmm. And top billing has stood the test of time.
Yes, it has.
Into the internet, and so now people are starting to know.
I mean, that's crazy because that right there, I mean, once again, if you go back to the song, like J. Rue said, that's Brooklyn's anthem.
Right.
I mean...
Well, I don't know if it's more of an anthem than Go Stetsa, but...
Oh, no, that right there, man, please. Go Stetsa?
Put it this way, top billing is a certain part of Brooklyn.
Yeah, it has
to. Stetsa is another part of Brooklyn.
Yeah, I agree 220% because he will tell you. That's one of my favorite, if not favorite, Stetsasonic songs.
Right.
Is Go Stetsa. That joint right there is bananas.
Yes,
I mean, crazy. Yeah. Also, you had opportunity to, because I saw the interviews that you worked with Junior M.A.F.I.A. And Little Kim and Biggie as well.
Yeah. I mean, I developed Junior M.A.F.I.A. What happened was, Big used to live around the corner from me.
Right.
Lived on Big Block at the tip.
Okay.
And then Brother Just lived right next door to me.
Right.
And so Just introduced to me.
Okay.
And said, yo, Daddy-O live right next door to me. He got a studio and everything. So came to me and was like, yo, man, we was just building for a little while. He heard some of my music. That's when I was working on the You Can Be a Daddy But Never Daddy-O album.
Right.
He really liked the way it sounds. He said, man, I just need to let Big hear this, man, because I like the way it sounds. Right. So he let Big hear the record. Big dug it, one day came to me and said, man, I got an idea.
Right.
For, all these little dudes. You be seeing these little dudes hang around Big and stuff.
Right.
He's like, yeah. And he was like, and he got a girl, too. And I got this idea for this Junior M.A.F.I.A. thing. Most of which we didn't even have the wherewithal to manifest. Like, things happen so quickly, you only got to see a quarter of what Junior M.A.F.I.A. was really about.
Right.
And in September, I'm working with a company overseas called Chopped Herring Records, and we're releasing some of that stuff, like some of the Junior M.A.F.I.A stuff, some of the demo stuff, and along with a couple of Freestyle Fellowship records that I did that nobody heard. But yeah, we formulated, had this idea to take them and put them up underneath Big, and we put it together.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke of Freestyle Fellowship because you were on Inner City Boundary.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In comparison from New York MCs to West Coast MCs, what's the difference? Was there any difference as far as their like?
Well, everything is different, right? So we started off in New York one way. We ended a whole nother way. I don't even like saying designers from New York, like it's crazy. So we in a whole nother space now.
Right.
But anyway.
Right.
But everything is different. Like every expression, one of the things that I enjoy about hip hop is that, you know, when you go per region, you get a different expression.
Right.
So most of my good friends know that in the 90s, I left New York hip hop alone. So
Right.
if you was to come to my office at Universal, that's where I was working in the 90s as an A&R dude, you would hear Mystical, you would hear E40 and the Click, you would hear Fifth Ward Boys out of Houston, you would hear early UGK, because, you know, New York just, to me, it just wasn't, once New York started talking hard again, I left it alone, because I remember in the beginning how people were using the music that we had to move away from the violence.
Right.
And so, you know, New York got spooked, my opinion. It's just a daddy-oism. New York got spooked by the West Coast stuff. You know what I'm saying? By that Straight Outta Compton and all that.
NWA.
And then they start coming back to try to say we tough too.
Right.
But ain't nobody ever denied our toughness. It's hard to get along in our city.
Right.
So ain't nobody ever denied our toughness anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had to leave it alone because cats started talking about, the only thing I messed around with in New York in the 90s was mob style.
Right.
And that's because Tone and them was really doing what they were saying. And I didn't want to hear none of that tough talk out of New Yorkers because I knew a lot of dudes was lying.
Right. Right.
You know, a lot of really known dudes is lying. A lot of really known dudes got, you know, was on their third and fourth piece that you see around their neck because I know the people that took them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a whole. So I had to leave that alone.
Right.
What I'm saying though is I began to start understanding the expressions of other cities. What Houston was saying for Houston, what Richie and 40 and Forte and them was saying out of the Bay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What different people were saying. So I think all of it was a different expression. Now the Freestyle Fellowship crew, that was just the kind of like the freestyle rhyming nerd crew, which Snoop was a part of in the very beginning.
Say what?
You know what I'm saying? Snoop used to freestyle. Snoop a dope freestyler.
Yes, he is.
A lot of the Chronic is freestyle.
Right.
A lot of Doggy Style is freestyle. Like he's a dope freestyler.
Right.
Sound like he wrote it.
Right.
You know. Plus he got the voice.
Exactly.
So he used to hang out with Micah 9 and all of them. But then he had that opportunity to work with Dre on Deep Cover. So that exited him from that kind of that freestyle fellowship-y. They used to have a health food store out that way called the Good Life, and everybody used to rhyme at the Good Life. So yeah, well, I mean everything was a different expression, but I loved working with them because it was different. You know what I'm saying? It was more like acrobatic MCs.
Right.
You know, different than working with New Yorkers that we were more like, you know, guys that say things and more storytellers, more braggadocio. Because to me, New York don't have the, you know, the whole on the story. I think Pimp C probably tells a better story than any New Yorker besides Nas, but that's just me.
Right.
But you know, we was more braggadocio kind of situation, and Freestyle Fellowship was like, it was more like watching them girls that just won the gold medal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they really are vocal acrobats. Like they do stuff I could never do. Like I could never do that.
Right. So now, which brings me to the point, me and this gentleman right here always have this conversation. We've been having this conversation for quite some time.
It's almost like this is why this station
was
founded, because it's about cats getting back together, putting music together, and why can we grow up and have, you know, our Rolling Stones, you know, our, you know,
Led Zeppelin and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just want to. That's why on all my posts I have a hashtag, why can't hip hop grow up?
Right.
Because I truly believe that it's a culture that we appropriated. So I'm not going to stop listening to it just because I get older. Right. But I, like you said, I don't want to listen to the pandas and the younger cats.
Right.
So I need something that needs to address my needs.
That's right.
And I agree with you. I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, it's a super duper long conversation, right?
Right.
A lot more to cover than one show, but I can say these things. One is, I appreciate you guys' efforts, but you guys are purists.
Right.
So that's just like looking at a jazz purist.
Right.
Right? So for the most people that listen to jazz, they mention names like Kenny G or some of the newer cats that might be playing.
Right.
That doesn't mean that those guys can't play straightforward jazz.
Right.
It does mean that they don't play straightforward jazz,
exactly.
right? But then you got the other situation where you got purists, people that listen to Train, people that listen to Monk, people that listen to Miles.
Right.
That's y'all.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't really know the answer because when you're talking to purists, you're always going to speak this way.
Right.
But the majority of the people know more of the smooth jazz version of rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they're not even looking at it from that perspective. The other thing is this. It's been said a ton of times that art reflects life.
Exactly.
And for the most part, that's true. I mean, it's not always true,
right.
but it's true mostly. And so I think that hip-hop growing up has to do with us growing up. And when I say us, I mean my peers.
Right.
Them little kids don't bother me at all. The only one that bothers me is Designer because he says he's from Brooklyn. And that bothers me. Other than that, I'm not bothered by any of them.
Right.
I like Fetty Wap. I like, you know what I'm saying? You can find something that you like with all of them. You ain't going to listen to it all day because it ain't that.
Right.
But you didn't listen to Raw Bass all day either. You didn't listen to Joeski Love all day either. You know what I'm saying? Those groups don't compare with like a 3 Times Dope or a Naughty by Nature because those are the real groups that you can listen to the lyrics, you into the guy. You ain't listening to no Joeski Love. You listening to it because it's the Pee Wee dance and you done it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So those guys, they don't bother me. What bothers me is that my peers, I don't want to say it doesn't seem like they've grown up. I'm sure that they live grown-up lives.
Right.
But I think that I'm not sure if they've grown with where music can become and what we can do in music. One of the things I'm doing when I'm releasing this album a quarter thing that I'm doing, right? Is I'm taking advantage of a cycle that I couldn't take advantage at any other time in my life.
Exactly.
When I was making records in the beginning, there was all time limits on it, right? There was all budgetary limits on it. There was conceptual limits. Sad to say, but true. I couldn't come up with an album concept and then do it in a month or do it in 3 weeks or do it in 6 weeks, right? I had to wait the whole nother year and then I had to kind of figure out what all the politics were around that. The record company politics, the distribution politics, the release date politics, all those. I don't have those restrictions anymore. So I should be able to pull in and cut records at will, which I do. I don't understand my peers not doing that.
I agree.
Like I have no idea why they're not doing it. Now, the only one that gave me a great answer to me was Jalil.
Okay.
He said, what if I just don't want to do it no more, Daddy-O? I can't argue with that. But everybody else, if that's not what, and I'm not saying I'm the guru or nothing like that. I am vocal though. You know what I'm saying? So, but if everybody else's answer is not, I just don't want to do it anymore, then I'm figuring out, so where's your growth? Where's your growth?
Right.
Because craft-wise, you probably should have never stopped writing rhymes.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't matter. You ain't got to be flipping your tongue or trying to do trap or whatever. You know, although Wyclef got this new thing out, man. He called it acoustic trap. It's incredible.
Crazy.
But I'm saying, but you ain't got to try. If you ain't Wyclef, he's a genius. So don't try what he does. Don't try this at home. Don't. But he got a record out called Hendrix that's crazy. But anyway, you don't have to do that. But you also don't have to sound like to the beat. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Like you should grow up, and it should be just the way an OG would sound if he spit. You know what I'm saying? Every rhyme ain't gotta be about yo, I used to do this, and you young kids don't know it. Just I write records that's just about my life. And when young kids hear it, they can't even get close to it because ain't no coming amongst us.
Not at all.
We sitting at the bar over here. Y'all better go sit y'all little ass over there.
Right.
Ain't no stepping where we, ain't no parking where we park out. Ain't none of that. So why should my rhymes not reflect that?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And so, I mean, but you know, I don't know, man. I think the other point I think is this, and this is the hard one. I think that at some point there was something that we call neutrality in rap. And what I mean by that is some people just got through. Some of my peers, I'm not going to mention which ones, y'all could guess. Some of my peers just got through because the ground was hot.
Right.
And because the ground was hot, you could fry anything on that ground because it's hot. They wasn't really that.
Right.
But because everything was hot, and because Stet was heating it up, and because Ultra was heating it up, you know what I'm saying? And because Dougie was pulling the Get Fresh crew together and heating it up with 2 DJs, and you know what I'm saying? Now it's hot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now somebody else could squeeze through on the merit of heat, and not on the merit of just being that dope.
Right.
So some people did make some, and then some people made great records and they really nothing else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of growing for us to do in order for your question to really be answered.
Right.
It's not a one-step process because cats gotta kind of get hip to what's going on, gotta figure out. Most cats don't even know how to use the internet. They got friggin' Facebook and all. They don't know what the hell they doing. They don't. I mean, that's real. You know what I'm saying? Oh, somebody tells them to get on Instagram, they get on Instagram, but they don't really know what they're doing on Instagram. They're talking about cooking eggs. I just woke up and made me some eggs. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, 2 of your fans want to know that. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not really sure. So a lot of it has to be our growth.
Right.
Just like we grew earlier. We didn't know how to make records in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? If you listen to, you know, I always say, man, the 3 groups I always look at to do this like learning curve thing. Stetsasonic,
Right.
BDP, and Public Enemy.
Yep.
Look at all 3 of those first albums. Look at On Fire, right? Look at the what's the BDP
Criminal
joint,
Minded.
the Criminal Minded joint, and look at the Yo Bum Rush the Show. Great records, but phenomenally raw.
Yes, they are.
So by the time those second records come from all 3 of those groups, they're masterpieces.
Right.
And Forget ends up a masterpiece. Takes a Nation, which those 2 grew together because we was on the bus. Chuck always talks about the 3 records that grew out of that bus ride, which was Info Gear by Stetsasonic, It Takes a Nation, and Millions to Hold Us Back by P.E. And 3 Feet and High and Rising Day. So because Paul was in the back of the bus writing that. Right, so you know, but then and then with the BDP record too, you hear masterpieces on those set. Not that you don't love it, but you guys as purists would love our first records.
Of course.
Everybody doesn't really love them; they just like them a lot.
Right.
But when it comes down and forget, oh yeah, Sally, oh we love Sally, oh talking all that jazz. But they're not gonna really talk about Go Stets or Forever My Beat or My Rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. Same thing with Chuck and them. Ain't nobody gonna talk about Time Bomb and all of that kind of stuff. And same thing with Chris and them. You know what I'm saying? So you don't. Maybe BDP might have the edge on that because more of those records became kind of singular classics, but still the bigger records become, you know, for Chris, you know, Step Into My World and Black Cop and all of those records. So yeah, I mean, we learned. My point is that we learned how to do things. Then I just don't think that the learning ends.
I agree totally.
And we can't sit there like, oh man, we just this great MC and everything's gonna fall in our lap. You know, things change, man. Times have changed.
Oh, yeah, tremendously. Now I look at. We always have this conversation too about the 3 Feet High and Rising to they're dropping Anonymous Nobody this week coming.
Right.
You know, I mean, that catalog and that consistency is evident if you just kept with it.
They had good teachers.
They had great teachers.
They had good teachers.
You know what? You know what question I want to ask? I want to ask you about. Do you think that these people were real artists in the beginning, or did they just get in it to make money? Because I'm an artist. I'm a painter, and I just can't see myself just doing it for the money. I'll always be painting. So that's why I'm trying to understand if some of these cats They just like, oh man, I can't do it no more because I'm not gonna make no bread.
It's a great question. It really depends on who you look at.
Mm-hmm.
I just was at a week ago, I guess, at Art of Rap here, and so we did an interview. Little Rodney C from the Funky 4+1 More interviewed Chuck D and myself, and then a few people just kept floating back in. So Ice-T floated in and out. Eric Sermon floated in and out, and I think somebody else, maybe Curtis. But anyway, Ice-T, when they asked Ice-T said he started rapping because he thought it could make him money.
Right.
He used to DJ first, and he started rapping because he thought it could make him money.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be certain people that literally thought about money in the beginning.
Right.
I think it's pretty evident that Eric and Rock thought about money in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
I think it's pretty evident. I mean, not only with the paid in full, but just kind of looking at the whole situation. And then there's others of us that really weren't looking at the money in particular. Right. You know, I know my band wasn't. I know Chuck and them wasn't, because I remember the first release party for Public Enemy, and Chuck was kind of mad.
Really? Why?
Because he seen a bunch of white folks. He said, "Daddy, I don't know what Russell got me going into." You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really sign up for this.
Right.
And I'm like, Chuck, chill, man. You getting ready to blow, yo. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, you know, it's different. So I really think it depends on who you ask. You know, that's kind of some more of an individual question, and then also more of a question than somebody actually being honest.
Right.
Because I didn't see money from the music business until I got my first publishing deal.
Really?
You know, I wasn't really getting no real money with Stet. When I went on the road with Stet in the beginning,
right,
especially our first runs, which was overseas, I took a leave of absence from my job.
Really?
It was a non-paid leave of absence, which they didn't mind because it was non-paid.
Right.
And I just went and did the Stet run and came right back to work.
How long was it tour?
3 weeks.
Okay.
I think I was overseas for 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, I don't think we had no grasp of what the hell this could be. Right. A lot of us.
Right.
But I think that right after that, there was people who saw us doing it and might have thought ching. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the way we thought in the beginning. So I think that question depends on who you ask.
Now, as far as back in the day, the DJ was the more prominent than the MC.
Right.
And now the DJ is nowhere to be found.
Right.
I think that plays a big part in it, and maybe the DJs have transitioned into producing.
I mean, that shouldn't hurt. That shouldn't hurt it. I think anytime something goes commercial, right? So I always look at and when I use examples with people, I say, look at cars, right? Think about, and I don't know car history like that. Maybe somebody does, but think about the Model T Ford. At least in my head, think about the Model T Ford, right? And then you fast forward to any Ford today, right? Once anything becomes mass manufactured, there's a certain amount of loss that's going to happen, right? There's something that's going to lose. There's something that's going to go away. There's something, whatever. And so that's how I kind of sort of look at it. You know what I mean? Like, we was more of a unit, and that, I guess, could be classified as hip-hop, right? So if we're going to classify hip-hop as anything, we would classify hip-hop as the unit that it brought together of those elements that we know between breakdance and graffiti art, DJ art, and the MC, right? And we all know historically that the MC came last. You know, the MC was, you know, he was a dope individual, was a good guy in the beginning. He was probably a guy that carried the records. But then ultimately he got on the mic and he started making people party. And then later on, when Cowboy and Mel got into it, after Coca Rock and Hollywood, they began to start actually doing rhymes that made sense and not just throw your hands in the air and stuff. And it started doing that. But the commercialization of it, the making of records of it, it's just I hate to say divide and conquer, but it's a sifting. So what do we need and what don't we need? You think about Sylvia Robinson and Bobby Robinson, when they were making records on Enjoy and Sugar Hill, they probably right away said, we don't need that DJ. Because you got to remember, all those original rap records on Enjoy was Bobby Robinson putting a band together to play the records that Flash and them would play underneath, but they were playing them. And then Sylvia did no different. She just had Doug Wimbush and Skip and them go in the studio and play. So there was no real need for the DJ.
Right.
What need did you? I'm talking about just to make records. What need did you have for a graffiti artist? None.
Right.
Ain't no breakdancer coming in the damn studio and dancing in here. So they streamed it down to what that was. It was up to us to maintain it.
Right.
And keep all of those elements, really, really close to the clip.
Right.
I happen to come from a band, so there was no way for me to get rid of my drummer or my DJ,
right,
or even my human beatbox, because that was all part of it.
Right.
But a lot of people did.
Right.
It's just like Lionel Richie and the Commodores.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Just take it apart.
Yeah, try to.
It's a commercial thing. I mean, it happens with all commercial elements. But I think any group or any act worth its salt, you'll see a DJ.
Right. I agree 220%. But this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pause for a quick second, and we're gonna come back and talk back with Professor Daddy-O, see what he got going on. He's dropping an album every quarter for y'all that don't get it and don't understand. So, yeah, we're gonna sit back, and also I want to ask you, how did you feel about the performance on Dr. Ruth when we come back?
Okay.
Yeah. It's your boy Flowbacks P, the Flowbacks Radio Show. We'll be back.
And she don't squawk or eat pork with a spoon or fork.
But I heard that
Some people don't like the way Sally walk.